What's going on, too? Welcome back to another episode. So let's get right into it. So in this season that you're in right now, you may be in a storm. You may be in one of the toughest seasons of your life. You may be in a situation where things just haven't worked or aren't working for you, and you feel as though that you've been doing everything that's absolutely possible, right? And so what's funny is that sometimes on the path to where you're going, storms will arise on that path. So most of the time people are thinking that, well, if I'm not doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, or if I'm out of sync with what God has told me to do or put in my heart to do, then that means that's why I'm struggling. And that's not always the case. Sometimes that's the case, but the things that God puts you through and the struggles that he puts you through, the hard moments that he puts you through, whether they're hard thinking moments, hard financial decisions, all these things, these are meant to show your faithfulness to him. These are meant to really see who you are in terms of your character in regards to that faithfulness that you have with him. Now, let me break down faith, right? And what it really means. So faith is believing in things that are unseen. So, and let's break down what belief means, right? So if we believe in something, then we think that it's true, or it's almost guaranteed, right? But check this out. Your actions are tied to what you believe. So if you believe in a thing, then you are going to act a certain way, right? And so if you look at like from a standard of like just going to work every day. We go to work, like I went to work for years, and I'm like, okay, well, I know if I go to work, I'm either going to get paid, every 2 weeks, or I'm going to get paid, every week. And that deposit going to hit, that Thursday night, that Thursday night, going into that Friday morning, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I believe that. And so then what happens when you believe a certain thing, then you continue to take action, and then that leads to you trust the system more, right? And so right now, in the system that you have, in the system that you have, and when I say system, I mean system with God, like in the system that you have with God, do you believe that he is going to come through for you and you are going to get the things that are in your heart? Because I see it as most of the time, what happens is that people don't have the faith that is actually required. And when you don't have the faith, because we've already said faith is believing in things unseen, and then we know what belief is, and we know that belief is tied to our action. So basically, if you don't have the faith, you are not going to act on certain things. So as I said in the beginning of my message, is that sometimes when we're going through a season, right? Like we're still, that it doesn't mean that you're off course. It just means that storms are going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I say that you read the Bible to see that people were on the right path and they still went through like tough times, and it's a test of faith for you, right? And so like if you're at a place where you need to make a decision where things are tight, it's financially is tight, or maybe it ain't tight, you know what I'm saying? But maybe you just, most of the time, a lot of us, and I've done this before, we're making this decision we make our decisions out of lack. We make our decisions like, well, if I spend this is all I got for this, or this is all I got for that, when not realizing that God has provided. He is a provider. He is the ultimate provider. So if he gave you what you have now, why wouldn't he give you more down the line or later? Especially if you're a good steward with those resources. Because it is also said in the Bible that if we're supposed to take the resources that we have, we're supposed to take what we have and multiply it. So why not believe? Why not trust? Why not believe and know that if I do what I'm supposed to do with what I got, right? And doing what you're supposed to do don't always mean that means that I'm supposed to save and penny pinch and do this and do that. Like, yes, we're supposed to save money. But when I say that, I mean, like, if you know that he's called you, for instance, if you got a job and you want to start a business and you got some money saved up, but you're only thinking about what won't work, right? If you're only thinking about what won't work, and then you find yourself going through these seasons where things are just tough, and it's just like, man, I got the good paying job, I got some money saved up, but why do I feel like all this stuff is still going wrong? Because it might just be that you're not being obedient to what he's called you to do. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the times the challenges that you see are to see like, man, are you faithful to what I'm calling you to do? Are you going to be faithful? Are you going to trust me? Are you going to listen to me with what's going on? Because a lot of us have been called to do things and we just not doing them because of fear, because of doubt, because we don't want to spend our last. You see that? We want to spend our last because we act as if what we have now we can't replace, because some of us have even made money our master, and that's a whole different conversation, right? And so when I say what I'm saying, it's like I was in when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I didn't have the $600-700 before. Like, what led me into really being a full-time entrepreneur, what really helped a lot, I'll say this, is going to real estate school. I didn't have the $600-700 to pay for real estate school. I had to pay in installments, right? I had to pay in installments. This is back in like 2016, 2017, right? I didn't have it. Like, and it's not that I didn't have it because I didn't have it. I didn't have it because I didn't want to pay. I didn't want to give up what I viewed to be my last. I think when I paid for it, that was like my last, like, couple $100. I may have had like $400 or $500. And I'm like, man, I gotta pay my car note. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And so in that moment, I basically was choosing that I was treating the money as if God didn't provide me that money. Like, God didn't provide me, like he didn't give me that job. Like, God didn't give me the means beforehand. I was saying that if I spend this on something that's going to further me, if I did spend this on something that's going to multiply my resource, I'm not going to have any more resources. That's where my mind was at. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. So I go ahead and I take the leap of faith, right? But check this out. When it's time for the second installment, I didn't have it. They could have kicked me out of class. It was by God's favor that they didn't. And I ended up getting the money. They was like, well, they pulled me to the side literally before the class. Was like, yo, your payment didn't go through. And so what I'm saying is that even when you're in a season of you're supposed to do something, if you stretch and you give your last, that he's going to provide, because guess what happened? I ended up graduating real estate school. I ended up helping hundreds of people start event-based businesses. I ended up becoming a business coach. Like, all of these things from this singular decision made years ago. Another thing years ago, I worked for Chicago Public Schools, right? So I'm like, I'm working for Chicago Public Schools, and like at the time I didn't have a car, you know what I'm saying? So I'm riding the train, going to work, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, man, like this, man, it's tough. The kids seeing me on the train, they cracking jokes. Like, it was a very, very tough season, right? At that point in time. At that time, right? But sticking with it, believing in him, staying the course, staying consistent, right? Getting up, showing up, going to work, right? Doing what I had to do. I got blessed with a car. But then what's funny is that one of my coworkers at that time, that's when I first, because I'm in my BMW right now. One of my coworkers at that time had a BMW X3, and I'm like, man, I've always was like in tune with BMW. He's like, man, that's a nice car. He's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I bought it cash out, and then me staying the course. In that moment, if I give me a luxury car, if I can ever afford a luxury car, I want a BMW. And then years later, I get a BMW. But it happens because I stayed obedient. So like, if he's put something in your heart and you haven't acted on this thing that he put in your heart to do, if you're not giving your business 100, if you're not investing all the way in it, and sometimes with those pieces, it's people in our circles that are putting their beliefs. Remember, we understand what beliefs are. Beliefs are our beliefs are what we think is going to happen, right? Or what we think about certain things, right? And so it's like, if somebody's putting their beliefs on you, that can change the way that you think. And if somebody is changing the way that you think, they're going to be able to change the way that you act, the way that you take action. And if they've changed the way that you take action, couldn't that throw you off course for what God has for you? Couldn't that throw you off course? And when I say that, I mean, like, in terms of being obedient. Couldn't that throw you off course for taking action when you're supposed to take it? So people like to stomp around and say, well, what God has for me ain't gonna miss me, but you have to go get what he has for you. He not just gonna give it to you. Ask and ye shall receive, but faith without works is dead, right? So faith is the work that you need to put in right now. If you're wondering why am I still in this season, and I got my business, I got the money, but I'm still I got the business, and the business is okay, but it's not where I want it to be at. Well, you not in the seat. You've removed at some point. Maybe you have removed that level of faith. At some point, maybe you're not reinvesting that money. At some point, maybe you clinging on, and again, like I mentioned earlier, making money your master, and so you thinking that he not gonna provide no more. So if I don't, so I see so many business owners that don't want to invest in marketing, don't want to invest in teams, don't want to invest in coaches, don't want to do none of these things, but then think that they're supposed to grow. Like, if you have a lack mindset, it's going to carry over in all areas of your life. And when you have a lack mindset, you're basically saying, I doubt that God is going to give me more if I put my money over here. I doubt that God is going to give me more, or it's going to be the best thing for me if I take this action on this. That is literally what we're saying. And listen, I'm not putting nothing on you. I'm telling you my opinion about, because I went through this for myself. So I'm really just giving you my opinion on the things that I've done. Because if I didn't go to real estate school, I was not going to go because of what? I didn't have a few $100s. Or I didn't want to pay it. I didn't want it because it was my quote unquote last, but God had provided me with a job and I was going to get another paycheck. And he's the one that provided the job. I may go to work every day, but he provided the job. He provided the income because he gets you out of bed every morning. So we got to trust his provisions across the board. We just can't. It's too much picking and choosing. Oh, well, I'm going to trust it over here. I'm going to have faith over here. But when he tells you he calls you to move on the big things, when he calls you to spend big, when he calls you to invest big, because I don't want to call it spending, investing big. So you're going to get that return back. So when he calls you to invest big, and then we like, well, I don't know. But what happens is, it's not that you saying you don't know all the time. Sometimes it's the people around us. Sometimes it's our environment that's telling you don't know. And this happens though. I've seen it with girlfriends to boyfriends, boyfriends to girlfriends, husbands to wives, wives to husbands. Like, the people that are around you, because they don't believe like you believe, they don't have faith like you have faith, that will distort, that will throw you off path, that will give you the nudge in the wrong way of maybe you shouldn't do this. Because they don't got that level of faith. But guess who vision it is? It's not theirs, it's yours. And so you got to do what he calls you to do. You got to do what he calls you to do, no matter what. And it can't be a thing of like, oh man, like I'm going to do what he calls me to do no matter what. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be obedient. And not just because when you're not obedient, there's punishment or there's all these things, because the Bible tells you what happens when you're not obedient. When the people, when all of these kings and all these people didn't follow, especially in the Old Testament, right? Didn't follow God's ways, right? What the rules that he had outlined, right? That he speaks on what he's going to do, what he did to them, what happened, right? How he let their enemies come and take over their kingdoms and all these different things, right? How he let their enemies kill them and all these different things, right? But my point is that in beyond that though, and even in like beyond that, like the laws are already there of what we should follow. Have faith in him, trust him, love him, honor thy father, honor thy mother, right? We already know what we're supposed to do, but why are we picking and choosing when we should do it? Why are we picking and choosing when we believe in him? Why are we picking and choosing when we're going to have faith? He provided the very things that you have right now in this moment. So why wouldn't he provide more if you say, I'm going to take these seeds that I have that you provided me, God, and I'm going to go plant and to get more seeds. We got to think, man. We really got to think. And so like, I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I actually went to real estate school, that I actually took that leap of faith, and that I continue to, I'm thankful that he continues to stretch me, because when you feel pressure, when you feel like things are, this is a lot. What do you think greatness is supposed to feel like? Do you think to become the greatest, or do you think to become the best? Do you think that it's going to be easy? There's going to be a stretching is going to be uncomfortable. And when you're made uncomfortable, he is saying it is time for you to grow. He wants you to grow if he's making you uncomfortable. So you need to trust and believe that the things that are going on is not just it's time for you to grow. And when it's time to invest bigger, it's time for you to grow. You want more, so then that means more will be demanded of you. If you want bare minimum will be demanded of you. But it's simple. But we're too busy making life like we're making this thing hard. I know I believe in God. So I know, since I believe in God and that God wakes me up every single day, and I'm thankful and grateful for it. God has provided me the things that he's provided me with. God has provided me the ability to travel for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days at a time, right? To leave my home for 90 days, 120 days at a time, right? To be out of a cold climate and be in a warm climate like I'm in right now. God has provided, he provided these things for me, right? So why wouldn't I continue to be obedient and listen to the things that he has for me, or he wants me to do? But how can I ever expect him to continue to give me things and I'm not stewarding the resources that he's given me? How can we expect him to continue to build us, to grow us, to bless us, and we are not stewarding the very things that we have now? Because he tells you, there's verses, you can look it up, look this stuff up on Google. If you're not super familiar with the Bible, look it up on Google. There are verses. What does God tell us about managing our money? What does God tell us about planting seeds? What does God tell us about multiplying our resources? He wants you to multiply the resources that you have. Money is a resource. It is not your master, it's a resource. Relationships are resources. Multiply. Don't clench. Multiply. Don't cling to these things. Multiply. The only thing I'm clenching and clinging on to and I'm holding on to is my relationship with God. Everything else I know that he's going to provide. I'm thankful and grateful for the opportunity he gives me to have that relationship with him. So everything else he's going to provide. So I don't trip on nothing. So we got to stop tripping over and stop saying, oh, this is my last. Is it really your last? Oh, because I don't know what's going to happen. That's where faith comes in at. You didn't know what was going to happen today. He says, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow going to take care of itself. Worry about today. And so what are you going to do today to guarantee that you're being obedient and you're moving in the right direction? Are you going to get up? Are you going to take that leap of faith? Are you going to take that risk? Because is it really even a risk, or is it just you trusting and believing in God? I think it's the second. And we got to stop saying, that, oh man, this is the devil, that is the devil, this, that. No, sometimes it's because you're not obedient. And sometimes it's because you're meant to be stretched. Sometimes it's God saying, he's nudging you, pushing you, like, listen, I want you uncomfortable because I want you to grow. I need you to move, and you just sitting here. So the longer you sit here, the longer I'm gonna make you sit through the storm. Because you sitting in the storm sometimes is the reason that you sitting in the storm sometimes is because you haven't trusted him fully. You are not giving it to him fully. You're not taking the action on the thing and just letting him handle the rest. So these are the things that I realized, and if you're still watching this, you know what I'm saying, hopefully you take action and you know that your storm can be over and it's coming to an end, especially if you continue to just trust him, especially if you continue to trust him. So peace and blessings, family.